Okay. Hi, and welcome to CellarPass TV Live from Hall, St. Helena. And today it's Wednesday, August 27th. And you know what that means? We're just a few days after the big quake here in Napa Valley. And I think we should all toast to having survived such a magnificent force of nature. Cheers. And I think for everybody out there who's watching, I know that you've definitely seen the coverage and heard about the quake. It was actually the biggest quake we've had in California since the Loma Prieta in 1989, so it was no tiny tremor. But for as much as the media would like to make it seem like the whole valley has been flattened, I assure you that is not the case, as we are in the beautiful Hall winery right now, which has come out completely unscathed, as has about 99% of the Napa Valley. So more than ever, this valley is gorgeous, and we want to welcome you to our magnificent wine region, and definitely just know that the Napa Valley needs your support in still coming to visit. So don't be afraid. There's nothing that's going to chase you away. There's probably a handful of wineries that haven't made it so well and a couple of hotels, but overall, you know, we're open for business. So we want to welcome you with our warm hospitality, our fantastic cuisine, and of course, the magnificent wines. So definitely come support Napa Valley, show your spirit, come see us this weekend, book a trip very soon. We all want to see you. And there are upcoming events. This is great. There's so many upcoming events happening. So just a few to mention, we have Wine and Sunsets, the music series at Lava Cap Winery in Placerville, and that's up in the Sierras. And then the Harvest Dinner and Celebration at Rutherford Ranch Winery. It's their annual shindig. Definitely don't want to miss that. It's out in their olive grove at sunset. Just gorgeous. Then next Friday, Cosentino is doing their annual wine and movie night. And then coming up soon, we also have on the 6th, we have the 15th annual Mount Veeder Appellation Tasting and Auction. And so that's big news. And to get tickets to these events and find out about more, go to CellarPass.com. I'm Sarah, the Vineyard Vixen, your host, your host for today's CellarPass TV. And I want to welcome Yannick Rousseau from Y Rousseau.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Absolutely. So we've already been sipping a little bit as we've been setting up, because that's what we do here at CellarPass TV. But Yannick, tell us a little bit about your winery and what you guys have going on.
Well, so we have a winery located in the south of Napa, and we've been making wine for about 7 years. 2008 was our first vintage, and so we moved in that location just in 2012. So I used to do custom crushing in 2 wineries in Napa Valley. Okay. And so we are very excited to have finally our own space where we have the production, the winery, and then we have a tasting room.
Yes, you do. It's an adorable tasting room too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a tasting room where we try to bring in people and offer a unique wine experience. The tastings are done by my wife, Susan, and myself. So it's really all about the wine and the discovery of Y Rousseau Winery.
Excellent. And being in South Napa, you guys were definitely a little closer to the earthquake than, say, us up here in St. Helena. So tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, it was very scary. I mean, I'm a French guy, and we don't get that in France, not that big at all. So I have to say I was probably the one who freaked out the most in the morning with my wife and our son Theo. But I have to say, after checking the house, I went to the winery at 5 in the morning, and I was just really expecting something bad, and we were very, very lucky. We had 1 barrel falling down on the ground, and it exploded. We lost wine, but we lost a few cases and empty glass, but overall we are very lucky.
That is very lucky.
We had, we had wineries. A friend of ours on Mount Veeder, we wished them actually the best recovery possible because they lost a lot of wine.
Oh, no.
So I got scared, we all got scared, but we are making it through, and we are open. We have tasting on Friday, on Saturday, and it's the busy season. So
Absolutely.
We are open, and we are welcoming
season.
people. Absolutely, yeah.
Definitely. And you can book your reservations with Y Rousseau at CellarPass.com, and they'll be open on Friday. So definitely come say hi and raise a glass, and we help Napa Valley continue recovering. I've never seen a community so resilient. I mean, I think, at 3 o'clock in the morning, or 3:20, we all woke woke up rather abruptly. And then within a half an hour to an hour, neighbors and the community were coming together immediately and addressing it. And by daybreak, businesses were open. Power was coming back on. I mean, we so quickly bounced back from something that could have been just so absolutely devastating, and I think that really allowed those who were severely affected to get the attention that they need, so that they can start rebuilding quickly. I know that there are some wineries that, heartbreakingly so, may lose their entire building. I know our hearts go out to Trefethen, the Ghost Winery right now, and that's it's near and dear to all of our hearts. So, but those are the wineries that definitely need, the support, the love, to get the resources, and everybody else. I mean, we just dusted off. Looked in our cupboards. If you had any glassware, then you shared it with your neighbor if they didn't. And right now, there's a lot of dishes passing around the valley. A lot of glassware. I hear there's Riedel for sale, some assembly required. And but I think overall, just to see how quickly our community bonded together and just said, nope, we're back, we're open, and business as usual. So cheers to Napa Valley.
Cheers to Napa Valley.
And those in Sonoma who were also affected. I know it wasn't just an isolated incident. And but hey, it's Wednesday, and we're moving on, and it's Wine Wednesday, which is even better.
Absolutely.
So you have a very special wine you're sharing that you brought today.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily the one that our bloggers have, so guys, hold on. We'll be talking about that one in a moment. But tell us about what we have in our glass right now.
Yes, so please, the bloggers, be patient. We are moving on to the Tanat in a little bit. But we have a very special bottle of Merlot, and Merlot that I call Merlot Pepe. And Pepe is actually my grandfather, and he's still alive. He's 93 years old. And Pepe is a little bit my inspiration. Pepe was actually a butcher. So I'm a grandson of a butcher. My dad was a butcher, so I'm a son of a butcher. But I became a winemaker. So
you broke the mold.
Yeah, exactly. I did break the mold, and but Pepe actually made wine for the family.
Oh.
He had a small vineyard in his farmhouse, and he made 5 or 6 barrels of wine every year just to share with the family. And so Pepe is my inspiration in, I believe, I don't want to say it or admit it, in what we're doing here in the United States, in California. And so when I moved to Napa Valley in 1999, I didn't really come to California because I wanted to move to California. I was a young winemaker. I wanted to travel. I wanted to speak better English. And so I went to Newton Vineyard Winery up in St. Helena for 2.5 years, working with amazing fruit, amazing grapes. And then I was at Chateau Potel Winery for 7 years.
Wow.
So until 2007. And then 2008, that's when we started our winery. And in between, of course, I had met my wife, Susan.
Cheers to Susan.
Cheers to Susan. That's also one of the reasons that I'm still here.
Excellent. It's a very good reason to stay here.
Yeah, of course. Even though she loves wine, so. So when we started the winery, really my goal, because I fell in love with the Montvidar terroir, I wanted to make a Cabernet Sauvignon, and I wanted to make a Chardonnay from Montvidar, and then a very special white wine, a Colombard. But driving on the top of Montvidar, I found this small vineyard, 1.2 acre, located at 2,000 feet elevation, with a full view on the San Pablo Bay, and on a very clear day, which doesn't happen very often, but we could see the Golden Gate Bridge every once in a while.
Incredible.
So it's an amazing vineyard, low yield. And I just remembered that Merlot is my grandfather's favorite variety, Pepe's favorite variety. So that was my inspiration to make a small production of Merlot. The 2011 is only 75 cases.
Oh, it's tiny.
We are down to a few cases, but I really wanted to share that wine with you.
Oh, thank you. It is
and people,
positively delicious.
They just love the Merlot Pepe. It's not your typical Merlot. It's 100% Merlot, but it's almost like a Cabernet drinker Merlot because it has the tannic structure of the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes.
And it has more of a black fruit component, a little bit of baking spices, and really a structure, a little bit of sage to it. So it's really stands on its own. It's a racy mountain wine, and people love it. This is our favorite wine club, member.
I can see why. This is so beautiful. I love Merlot. But again, I gravitate more towards the Cabernet style of Merlots, and so this is right up there. And actually, my my other favorite Merlot comes from Mount Veeder as well. So
I see.
definitely something about that region that is very special.
Yes.
And we do have some feedback coming in from
Very
our bloggers already. We have My Vine Spot. What inspired Yannick to leave his roots in southwest France and plant new ones in Napa?
I knew
Yes, that was
question.
coming.
Well, you know, it's a very good question, and at the same time, it's like the story of my life every day in a way, because I wake up every morning and I see myself in the southwest of France, and I see myself here in California. Like I said, I didn't come here to California or Napa Valley because I wanted to leave my country. I love my country, but I fell in love with Napa Valley, and I was very fortunate to start at Newton Vineyard. And when I came, I was supposed to stay only 6 months, but they offered me a job for 18 months, which is, as a young winemaker, is a great opportunity because you get to see 2 harvests and the full aging of 1 vintage.
That's pretty special.
You know, when I moved to, so I lived in St. Helena, I went to Sunshine Market, and the first thing that I made sure that they had fresh bread.
Wow.
So
these are important things.
I went there and I could see a fresh baguette, and I went, ooh, now we're talking.
Okay,
maybe.
like, all right, I might take the job.
And it's really, I mean, I say that, but it's really, I called my family, it looks good. So,
smells all right, it's fresh, it's crispy.
Yeah, and you know, it's having the opportunity to really experience an amazing area, Napa Valley, obviously, and having the opportunity to start our own winery. And we're still very young. You know, when we make wine, we have 1 chance a year to make wine and to make it right. Sometimes it's going to take, most of the time it takes 10, 15 years to really see and to really become a winery. And so having this opportunity, which is in France, I would say it's a little more difficult unless you have a lot of money to buy a property, a vineyard, because we are able to look around, find the best vineyard that we like. We can buy the grapes here in Napa Valley and Sonoma Valley and create wine that we believe in, that I believe in. In France, you can't really go out and buy grapes. Usually you have to own your vineyard. So it's a big difference. Now, you know, if I was to go back to France in my home region, I would not want to make wine for anyone. I would buy a small vineyard and make wine. So, you know, all of my family, my French family is in France still. I have my grandpa, like I said, and I go to France 2 times a year usually.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm very connected. I talk to my family every weekend. That's probably why I keep up with my good French.
Excellent.
And so, you know, it's really a matter of opportunity, meeting my wife, and ideally I see ourselves spending 3 to 6 months in the southwest of France and the rest here in California. So.
Not so bad. It's a good
not
plan.
So bad, not so
well,
bad. Yeah.
Cheers. Well, let's switch to
cheers
the
to that, yeah. Thank you.
That is beautiful. And then you also have one of your best friends are watching us today, all the way from France.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
That's very exciting.
Charles, my best friend, he owned his own company, Bacchus de Gascogne, and he's actually a personal trainer, but he loves wine. And
you work out twice as hard.
I'm very fortunate to have him. He actually came in 2008, 2009, and 2010 for the harvest. He stayed with us for 2 months.
Wow.
Helping me really making the wine. I could call him my assistant winemaker, no problem. So.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that was actually great for him because he had the opportunity after coming here to go to New Zealand and work in wineries and in a wine bar as well. So, and I think it was an amazing way for him, and I'm sure it would be for a lot of people to see what it takes to make good wine.
Yes, it's not easy.
It's much easier to drink the wine.
Yes, I agree.
But
I like being on this side of it.
Yeah, of course.
We do have some more feedback coming in. Let's see what we got here. I read about Pepe today. Hunted his own food, made his own wine, and was an artisan butcher. Glad to hear he's still doing well. Oh, thank you so much, Giselle. That's awesome. You really do your research. You're amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And Flawless Crowns is giving a nice big cheers to Napa and Pepe. They're definitely loving it. Well, I know our bloggers have the Tanat. So maybe we should switch to that and talk a little bit about this particular wine that you've shared with them and get their feedback. And then, of course, bloggers, we want to know what you have paired with this fantastic wine. And we do have some of our studio audience here today, so we want to know what you think about the wine. And but it's your show, it's your floor right now. So tell us.
Well,
this magical wine.
We are talking about Tannat, which is a lot of people still call it obscure variety in California and in the US because there is very little Tannat planted in California, a little bit in Paso Robles. There is this Tannat we have in front of us is from Russian River, and it's the only Tannat vineyard in Russian River. Then there is another vineyard, Tannat, in Mendocino, Alder Spring Vineyard, which is our reserve Tannat. But the story behind Tannat, so when we started the winery, we had the Colombard, we had the Chardonnay from Vintner, we had the Cabernet Sauvignon, and the Merlot Pepe. But I really wanted to bring Tannat into the portfolio because Tannat is a red variety, it's a staple red variety from my home region. So it's really, when I grew up in the southwest of France, we were drinking Colombard during the summer, and during the winter that will be Tannat. So I really wanted to make Tannat again, and that vineyard came in production in 2011. So in 2011 we made 150 cases, and that was just very amazing wine for the vintage, so very promising. And Tannat, for a lot of people don't know Tannat. Tannat, as the name implies, can be very tannic. It can be very big, very bold. And in the southwest of France, very dark. It's inky. It's, when you put the grapes in the tank, after 3 days in the tank, you have all the color you want. After 10 days, you have all the tannic structure you want. So my job as a winemaker is to tame it. It's to tame it, to just calm it down.
Get your whip and be like,
pretty much, yeah. I don't want to extract too much. I don't want to do too much punch down. I don't want to go too high in temperature. I want to keep the fruit. Tannat is very generous. It's going to give you all it has as far as the fruit, the tannin, the color. So my goal is to tame it a little bit, and I want to make, we have two Tannat. This one, I want to make it approachable. So you get a lot of fruit. There is some baking spices, some cherry, blueberry going on. And I use only 1/3 of new oak because I don't want to overload with the oak. I really want the fruit. The
just
oak is here to
shine through.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's still a very big wine, but it's juicy at the same time. It's very silky, and this is, you know, when I taste this wine, you almost have the nose of a Russian River Pinot Noir and the body of a Napa Valley Cab.
It's true.
It's really. I had a wine retailer mentioning that, explaining to me like that, and I said that makes sense.
That's a great
It's
description.
very bright, but at the same time it's big. So it's kind of having both in the same. So for people who don't know Tannat, you should definitely try it. And I will be honest, my mission is to put Tannat on the map in the US.
Excellent.
So it's really what I want to do. I want people to discover Tannat. This is a Tannat. Actually, I should mention that I blend a little bit of Merlot and a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon. It's still 89% Tannat. So mostly Tannat, but the blending brings a little bit of flesh to the middle and a little bit of complexity. So
it is absolutely delicious. I like it because it's a great alternative to Cabernet.
Absolutely.
So it helps you mix up your wine collection, your repertoire. If you always go for the Cab, this is a great alternative. What would you normally pair with this one?
Well, historically, so Tannat, like I said, we have, Tannat is from the southwest of France. In the southwest of France, we eat rich. Duck confit, it's fat food, it's duck fat, it's duck breast, it's cassoulet, it's
I know why your friend became a personal trainer.
Yeah, he's very busy. But in fact, the interesting thing is that the people from the southwest of France, they have one of the longest life expectancy of France, because the rich food, which is fat, but it's a good fat actually, and the Tannat is a variety that has the highest level of antioxidant.
Well, then it's a health food.
So it is absolutely. I have to be careful not to say that on the back label or in public because we would get in trouble.
Yes.
But it is very, it has been, in England they did study that why the people from the southwest, they live the longest. It's like the people on the Provence or Mediterranean side, it's because of the olive oil a little bit.
Yeah.
In the southwest, we don't really have olive oil, but we have the duck. And I also believe that we take our time to live too. So it's a combination, to enjoy life. So,
absolutely.
So the Tannat and the Colombard is really, my mission is to put Tannat on the map, like I said, but I really want to bring a slice of my home region, a slice of Gascony, of our lifestyle into Napa Valley or into our life simply. So
that's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm very happy to be enjoying this wine with you, and definitely have some of our bloggers. Oh yeah, they're coming alive now. Here they are. Having some, my vine spot's coming in again. Having spent some time working on the Madiran, and tasting the wines, how does Sonoma County Tannat differ in style?
Well, it's a very good question. Actually, my training with Tannat in 1996 and 1997, I was in Madiran at the best chateau, which is Chateau Montus. The owner of Chateau Montus is Alain Brumont. He was my mentor. He was the first one to not plant Tannat, but the first winemaker who decided to bring the level of Tannat to the top level. So he's been compared to some of the best winemakers in the world, and some of the Tannat that he makes are just the best in the world. So my goal is to go to that level. However, I don't want to compare because my background is French, my experience, my approach is French. Like when I pick grapes, I don't want the grapes to be overripe. I want to keep freshness, I want to keep my acidity. However, I make wine with grapes from Napa and Sonoma, so I have to respect that. And I think a lot of Madiran wine from the southwest, they are, I would say, a little bit bigger on the tannic side, and it's because it's a very traditional area. So the older generation of winemakers, they keep with that style. They are okay to keep the wine 3, 4, 5 years in the cave before releasing the wine.
Wow.
Now you see more and more young winemaker in Madiran understanding that when you want to make wine, you also want to try to attract new people, and new consumers. Get it out there. Exactly. So we're all in the same boat. We want to have the people enjoy the wine early on too. Right. So the challenge is to stay true to the style of the wine, and believe me, you cannot take the tannins out of Tannat. You can't. I can't. It's still there, but you just have to tame it a little bit and make it nice.
A little softer, a little gentler.
Absolutely. So I wouldn't really compare. However, to go back to the comparison, the 2011 Tannat, we tasted it like a year and a half. We sold out the 150 cases in 6 weeks. So that was very fast. Actually, I had to call back some wine from some wine store.
You're like, so sorry, I need more.
Yeah. So, but the wine really is aging beautifully.
How'd that call go over? I'm so sorry, but that wine I sent you, I kind of need it back.
Well, not everybody wanted to do that, but I did have to do that. But we can see the wine now is tasting very earthy and a little bit gamey. So that's very much a component of Tannat, how the Tannat is going to age. So.
Excellent. Yeah. And so at home, what's your go-to meal? Like, what are your favorite meals to pair with this wine?
Well, right now the 2012 is so bright that it works really well with actually hamburger, a juicy hamburger, or hanger steak. For the people who like, flavorful meat, that's what you can have it with. And then a strong cheese, it works really well with a strong cheese as well. I'm thinking of Gruyere, something, strong in flavor.
Absolutely.
And also it works beautifully with lamb. Oh. Absolutely, grilled lamb.
Grilled lamb.
Perfect, yeah.
Or actually, I make a lamb ragu in a really, really rich sauce. So this would be perfect.
In the Southwest, that's all we do. I mean, I used to hunt with my grandpa and my dad, and we would just make a stew, and that's what because it's very comforting in a way. So that works really well.
That's fantastic. Getting hungry just thinking about it. All right, so we have In a Fabulous World. Nose of Russian River Pinot, body of Napa Valley Cab. She totally agrees. The Tannat is a great full-bodied wine and definitely a break from Syrah and Cab. So cheers. Great. Cheers. Thank you. Absolutely. And this wine is serious, bold, red drinker. I've had it decanted for almost 2 hours. What is its ageability?
The ageability of Tannat is pretty amazing. And the reason is so that's why, as a winemaker, it's always a challenge. And my style is that I want to make wine that you can age. Maybe not forever. We're not talking about 50 years, but I want 10, 15 years. And Tannat has a natural acidity in the grapes that it has the acidity and it has a tannic structure that will keep the wine fresh and robust and standing. It's not going to fall apart.
Right.
So you can age Tannat very well. To not be able to age my Tannat, I will have to pick the grapes very late and lose some of that acidity, be on something more plummy and jammy. But I look for the perfect time to pick the grapes.
So you've got some time. You can cellar it. But as I always say, don't buy one bottle, buy several. And play with it, age a couple, and see where your perfect age is in that particular vintage, because as we all know, it can change.
Absolutely.
Not, the 11 may not be the same as the 12 and so on, but it is a lot of fun. And if you have the opportunity to do so, I highly recommend it. Enjoy it now, enjoy it a year from now, enjoy it 5 years from now, and and then you kind of see what your palate likes.
And you develop your own taste of the wine. It's very. My grandfather Pepe used to do that with a Saint-Emilion producer. Every year we had a trip scheduled to Saint-Emilion to buy 3, 4, 5 cases, and he would open a bottle every 6 months or every year, and then that's how you follow the life of the wine, and then you realize, oh, now it's time to
get the rest of them out now. We're having a party.
Especially in France, that I believe you have more influence of the vintage. So some vintages, they're not as, I wouldn't say as good, but you cannot age the wine as long.
Okay.
However, I have to say that since we started in 2008, we had very different and interesting vintages. 2008 was different than 2009, 2010, and 11.
It was a wild road.
Oh man, it was just
Each vintage had its own.
Now 12 and 13, we are a little bit more back to what I call Napa Valley style. In a way, so. Now
we had a good run the last couple years, much like 07 was a great year.
Very true.
I've definitely, my money's on the 7s. If I was a gambling woman, I say the 7s are usually pretty good. I mean, you just go back, you've got 07, 97, 87, all fantastic vintage years, but definitely the 10, 11, 9, I mean, everything from starting sweater knitting campaigns for the grapes and umbrellas. I mean, it was a wild ride. We had the summer that never warmed up. I wore a sweater all summer long.
Wine auction.
Yeah.
Which people had not seen in
never seen so much black
years.
at the wine auction in my life. It was ridiculous. So it's definitely been an interesting last 10 years in Napa Valley for sure, in Sonoma County, in our wine regions. And of course, I think that's when the talents of a winemaker really shine, because you haven't been served up the perfect scenario, so you really have to flex your winemaking skills and make those wines come alive.
And winemaking, of course, it takes a lot of chemistry and science and experience, but it takes also a lot of intuition. When you make wine, you have a 1 month period starting when the grapes, actually I would say 2 months period, where the grapes are starting to ripen. Every single day you're gonna make decisions, small decision, but every time it's a little plus or a little minus that you put on the finished product. And each winemaker is different. I like to pick the grapes when they are, I look for the optimum ripeness, not underripe, not overripe. I don't want to go in the comfort zone of saying, oh, I'm not sure, so I'm going to go overripe. I don't want to go there because I know I'm not going to like the wine. And then when you are overripe, you can take it back. You can
There's nothing
you can try to fix it, but the aromatic, you lose them. And so the 2011 vintage was the most challenging vintage, but in a way, when the wine was made right, it's a very Bordeaux vintage. That's why the Merlot PP 11 is very much like a top Merlot from Bordeaux. So
it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
All right, more feedback coming in from the bloggers. I love it. Have you ever grilled bison? This is coming in from Flawless Crowns.
No.
Would you like to?
Well, that was Buffalo. Exactly. We were in New Mexico. And that was before starting the winery. I think I was still at Chateau Potel, but of course I had always the idea of making Tannat. So we had a Tannat from Geyser Peak Winery, Alexander Valley Tannat.
Yes.
They don't make it anymore, but I grilled a buffalo in a bed and breakfast. There was a big storm outside. My wife, she was just watching TV or whatever, and I was grilling, and we had that Tannat with buffalo. Bison is different than buffalo, right? Yeah.
No.
Not much.
No.
Not much?
They're big.
Smaller.
They're both big.
I'm a son of a butcher, but I don't know the difference.
You're asking the wrong girl.
That was...
You don't try to write either one of them.
Those are sage words right there.
But that was the most amazing pairing, honestly. And I will do it again. We don't think about it. I mean, it's just,
all right, well,
it's not easy to find buffalo here.
Well, that should be the next event, right? Be a buffalo grill.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Flawless Crowns.
Absolutely.
See,
Yeah,
there it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
All kinds of great ideas are born on the show. Flawless Crowns is also saying the Tannat is so classy, big, bold, but refined, like the perfect first date. Well done.
Oh, shit,
good.
Yeah, gotta remember that.
Yes. It's the perfect first date. I love it. It's magical.
It leads to marriage.
No, it can. It can. Well, you fall in love with it, and then you
And
go.
it's really opening up. It's been open for an hour and a half for us,
Yeah.
and it's really... Yeah, I would really recommend to decant it, just because it's a big wine and it needs,
And plus, you got to use that decanter sometimes. We know we never do.
Of course. I know it's difficult to clean a decanter.
Yes.
Don't break it, but...
Yeah. We all have them. We're like, no. Yeah, use your decanters.
All decanters made it through.
That's actually good to know. No vases had to be substituted. Let's see what we have coming in here. In a Fabulous World, saying, what attracted you to the Russian River Valley to grow Tannat?
Well, Russian River Valley is it's a pretty amazing area. It doesn't have much mountain vineyard, which I like. As far as if we talk about Cabernet or Chardonnay, like that's why we have the Montvidor Chardonnay and the Montvidor Cab. I love the vineyard from the mountain because I believe there's more soul, there's more personality. It's a little more intense, but it's probably a little bit the way I am.
Yeah,
Maybe
you might be
my
biased.
wife could talk about that. But, the Russian River Valley, you will have some hills, but it's mostly flat, but very well drained soils. And what's very interesting is just a cooler climate.
Yes.
So when you come into September, October,
Get that nice fog coverage for
you have
most
the
of the
fog,
day.
and October and second part of September and October we have the sun, but it's not very hot.
No.
So the hang time, the ripening is slow, and it's just very nice ripening. And it's a very good way, and that's also why you have a lot of Pinot Noir in Russian River, because you preserve the brightness of the fruit. And I believe that Tannat from Russian River, or we have the Alder Spring Vineyard Tannat, which is our reserve Tannat, which is Mendocino, so it's also cool climate, but it's 2,500 feet elevation. So also, and honestly, the history of Tannat in the southwest of France, in Madiran, most of the Tannat vineyard is close to the Pyrenees Mountains, so it's a very, cooler climate, a little more inland. It has an amazing, beautiful Indian summer.
Okay.
It's
Really
a
long.
little bit, absolutely.
Kind of again that September, October, summer.
Absolutely, same thing, same slow ripening process, and it does preserve the brightness of the fruit. So that's why I like.
Makes sense.
I don't think if I own the vineyard. In Napa Valley, well, of course, I would plant a little bit of Tanat because that's in my house.
You would have to.
I would have to, but honestly, it would have to be mountain fruit because that's where I think it would make it.
You'd also have to have another Merlot vineyard.
Yeah, that's right.
Pepe
that's right.
Dos.
Yep, exactly. Pepe number 2.
Pepe number 2. We have My Vine Spot's asking, can you speak to some of the things that you do in the vineyard or cellar to help tame the Tanat?
So the Tanat in the vineyard, we were in the vineyard just last Friday, and I had asked the vineyard manager to do what we call fruit thinning, cutting off some of the grapes because the Tanat cluster can be so big. So you will have they are large. Big, long, and compact.
Oh.
So you will have one main cluster, and then on the top of it you will have 1 or 2 or 3 what we call wings or shoulder, and it can make the crop so heavy. So you have again to keep it in check and in balance in the vineyard with the vegetation and how much grapes you have on the vineyard. So that's the first step. Is very important. And
how heavy would you say a standard cluster
is? It's so
is?
heavy. We tried to. I mean, it's like 3 pounds.
Whoa.
So some of the, I mean, and it's because it's tight.
So it'd be really susceptible to mold and things like
Absolutely.
that.
So 2011 was a very difficult vintage for that, and I spent personally time in the vineyard just to cut off the moldy grapes.
Got it.
And because since it's very compact, it just goes in there and you don't even see it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's hidden
you
from
don't
view.
see it. So 2012 was not a problem. 13 was not a problem. And then at the winery, like I said, Tanat is very generous. You're gonna have all the color, all the tannin.
It sounds like it's generous from the get-go. You get tons of grapes. And
absolutely, and really, I want to, just keep it in check. Just babysit the wine, make sure the temperature doesn't go too high. If I have one very important point is that if I have to drain the wine off the skin early on, even if the wine is not dry, if it's still fermenting, I will take it out because it would go too tannic otherwise. Okay. So sometimes it can be 5 breaks, sometimes it can be 1 breaks, depending on the vintage. So I taste, when we get close to the end of the fermentation, I taste 2 times a day, and then we decide.
Kind of where you're at.
So that's mostly, and then the aging is pretty straightforward because Tanat is so big, bold, that aging, I mean, like I said, I don't want to put too much new oak, but I mean, once it's in the barrel, I can go to France for a few months and just
take a break.
It's gonna be okay.
You're like, okay, it's barreled, we're fine, it's all good. So funny. Well, I know, and we can talk forever about the wines, and they're beautiful. But so when you're not playing winemaker in the cellar, what are your passions? What do you love to do?
Well, I will be honest. I mean, we've been very busy with the winery, starting up the winery, so I try when I don't make wine and when I'm not at the winery, I try to focus on the family, and we try to go out to the ocean, spend time with my wife and my son. And other than that, I love playing tennis. Tennis is my #1 sport right now, except that I have to be careful because I'm not in shape, so I get injured a little bit.
Oh, we can't have
I play tennis, but I like to do competition, so I go back to competition a little too early. But it's really the #1 sport that would take my mind off the business, and I'm really focused. It's like people golfing.
Right.
And, I like to play pétanque too. I don't have a lot of time. But
No.
you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. He got schooled by a 9-year-old not too long ago.
Yeah, we had a very funny
I think you need to practice a little bit more.
Indoor pétanque.
9-year-old?
Yeah. My 9-year-old who does not play pétanque very often, but he's got a good arm. So I think we should sign him up for the.
No, he's good.
Pétanque should be an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
And I think he would be one of the first team members. Absolutely. I think it'd be great. I mean, absolutely.
And one of my, since I moved to California, I used to love to go hunting with my dad and my grandpa. I haven't done that here in the U.S., but it's something that I enjoy a lot too. You know, spending time just walking the land, and the hunting in France is you know, very much open. I mean, you don't have to be in a private space. You can go out in a lot of space. It can be dangerous.
Yeah, I was
dangerous.
gonna say, I'm like, there's a reason we have a
people are very
close
respectful. Yeah. There is just a 20-yard safety zone. So.
Oh, fantastic. Give you a 5-second head start.
Exactly.
We're orange. That's so. Don't shoot me.
Charles says hi and to tell you that your shirt fit you very well today.
Thank
His personal dresser.
That is awesome.
Tell him to go to bed. It's 1:30 in the morning.
No, you party animals.
Yeah.
Yep. In a Fabulous World says great pairing on the bison. Definitely will have to try that. And you love the buffalo steak. Yes, you do, man. There's so many things. I'm wading through all of the chats in here. Oh, the muscle in the body of this wine would lead many to believe a much higher alcohol. Yet it's quite moderate. How does Yannick pull this off?
Well, it's a choice. I really don't want to push for over ripeness, and it is a challenge in California or in Napa and Sonoma, because when we have a hot vintage like this, sometimes just to get ripe, we just have to go. I'm not gonna pick my grapes at 12.5%. Just because I don't want my wine to taste green and not very enjoyable.
Right.
So it's all about finding the right balance. But if I have a choice, when I feel like my grapes are ready, I prefer to be a little bit before than wait and be, like I said, in a comfort zone saying, oh, I'm not too sure if it's ripe, let's wait.
Yeah, you don't want to wait.
I prefer no. And you know, sometimes it's been a challenge with some of the vineyard owner because they would want to pick through, everything at once. But I'm very picky about that, and it's really what I do. I'm very careful with the alcohol. Now, you taste my Cabernet Sauvignon 2012. We are at 14.5. It's just, but it's still.
But it's balanced. It's beautiful.
and it's still not crazy high. Most of Cabernet Sauvignon in Napa.
We've seen some really high alcohols.
Yeah, more like 15.5.
A trend, really, in the last 10 years. It's just been kind of going up and up and up, and it's not necessarily the most enjoyable either.
That's right.
So it's definitely, I know from a consumer's perspective, I like it a little less. It's nice to have it that way. And then some, again, you have brilliant winemakers that you're surprised on how high the alcohol is. You're like, whoa, really? But I don't think having a high alcohol content necessarily is a pro, when I'm looking at my wines. Like, I want something I can sip and be able to stand up later. So that's kind of an important quality to me.
And it's all about balance. I mean, some wine, they are 15.5%, and you don't taste the alcohol because there is richness, there is good tannic structure, there is good acidity, nice fruit.
Everything's there.
Yeah. So, and really, I think we are going back a little bit. We see it with younger sommelier and wine buyer and consumer more and more. They just want a little bit more balanced wine. And
Absolutely.
I'm happy. And I don't do that. I don't follow a trend. I make
You make great wine.
Yeah, and I make wine of conviction. I make wine that I want to enjoy myself.
And that's how
it's not a show. It's wine to share, to have with a dinner. And in my family dinner, we had 5 or 6 courses when we had a family reunion, and every dish we had a different wine, and we had to find the right wine to go with the dish. And that's why I make wine. I mean, this is, because I like wine, of course.
Right, but it's to share, it's to enjoy with food, it's that whole
absolutely.
Connection, and that's what's so great about it, of course. And I personally think the best wines are from the winemakers who are picky about when they're going to harvest, and they push back on their vineyard managers a little bit more and annoy them and make them go, ah! But at the end of the day, they shine because of it, and the wines shine because of it.
And then we can taste wine together, and we can see. I actually did that on a specific vintage of my Cabernet Sauvignon. We had the same rows of vines, and I asked the vineyard owner to do 2 picking. The sunny side first, and when I say sunny side, is the side of the road that has the afternoon, evening sun.
Okay.
And then the shady side is what has the morning sun, so it's not as hot. And we did the first picking on the sunny side, and then 2 weeks later we did the picking on the shady side. And the vineyard owner, he was like freaking out, you know, who are you to do that? And then I had to tell him that I will pay him a little more for the picking, which he was fine with that. But then we tasted the wine together in the winery, and he could see, wow, that makes sense. So instead of going a little overripe on the sunny side and then underripe on the shady side,
and then blending and hoping it come out.
Exactly. So I prefer to find the best timing for each side. And not every vineyard is like that. Sometimes it's very evenly ripened, so you don't have to do that.
Right,
But that
just grab it
specific
all.
vintage, I just had to do it. So I just did it.
That's good.
Yep.
That's good. Well, you are making absolutely delicious wines.
Thank you
and
very
you
much.
guys
Thank you.
are just killing it on bringing unique wines that are really a part of your heart and your heritage.
Yes,
and I
exactly.
think that is probably one of the most special things that anybody can do. And you guys are doing very well. And I know that our bloggers are tiring out. They're getting a little far into the tenant, so I think we'll let
Yes.
them sleep now.
Absolutely.
But Yannick, it's been so fun talking to you, and thank you so much for sharing the Pepe and of course your tenant and just chatting. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
And thank you all who are watching
you.
today. Cheers to you, and we will see you again next Wednesday, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific on CellarPass.com/live for CellarPass TV. We'll see you then. Cheers.